Powered by Riverside FM.
Do you really want Kirk Cousins back in the fold as a backup to JJ McCarthy? There's been a lot of steam that may happen because the Atlanta Falcons ate $10 million last week by not releasing him. And the verbiage that is coming out from the Atlanta Falcons is that they're going to keep him. They want him to be a backup to Michael Penix Jr. I don't think Kirk Cousins is interested in that. But a lot of the quarterback spots out there are just shrinking. I think the New York Giants just found their quarterback in Jameis Winston. I think Aaron Rodgers possibly, maybe, will end up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, he could sit it out as well. I can see Aaron Rodgers sitting it out and hoping that a JJ McCarthy doesn't play well, or maybe, God forbid, JJ McCarthy were to get injured. But I can see Aaron Rodgers sitting it out well. But I think if he wants to play this year, Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's a place to be for A-Rod. The Cleveland Browns, I'm thinking they're probably going to have their quarterback situation taken care of by the time Kirk Cousins is able to make a decision. The Minnesota Vikings are obviously looking at Joe Flacco, possibly Ryan Tannehill. They've been in discussions with Ryan Tannehill and his people. But there's been a lot of steam picking up that it could be Kirk Cousins. Would you want Kirk Cousins back as a backup? Does Kirk Cousins even want to be a backup? Why would he leave a backup situation in Atlanta where he's getting paid to come to Minnesota? Now, I would think that the Atlanta Falcons are fully committed to Michael Penix Jr., and not like the Vikings aren't fully committed to JJ McCarthy, but JJ McCarthy is coming off an injury. There's been some, questions that JJ McCarthy may not be ready to go with that knee. It's just a meniscus tear, so I don't see that either. I'm just kind of regurgitating some of the reports that are out there by JJ McCarthy. I think I'm surprised, UP Nation, that I'm thinking this way. I'm surprised because I was not a Kirk Cousins fan when he was here, although he did a lot of good things for the Minnesota Vikings. I just thought that he was mediocre. I guess that's the best way to put it. I think he was just mediocre. I think Kirk Cousins can get you the 4,000-yard seasons. He can get you the high 20, 30 touchdowns type seasons. Didn't make a whole lot of mistakes when he was with the Minnesota Vikings, but he didn't take a lot of risk either. He is the guy that can give you some really, really good seasons and possibly a playoff appearance. But once he hits that season, all bets are off. One playoff win in his whole career, as gaudy as some of his numbers are. But would you want him back as a backup to JJ McCarthy? I'm surprised that I would take a flyer on that. And if you had your choice in your pick of the three guys that have been reported to be engaging with the Minnesota Vikings, or possibly that the Minnesota Vikings are interested in them, Joe Flacco, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins. Out of the three, who would you want? Kirk Cousins knows the system, knows the personnel. Kirk Cousins still can sling that thing. Reports are last year that he was playing hurt. Now, the Atlanta Falcons dispute that, and it could be Kirk Cousins' camp trying to make some excuses, trying to have a crutch for why he really didn't perform down the stretch. So who knows whether Kirk Cousins was hurt or not, but something was wrong. Keep in mind, I believe it was a Sunday night game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where Kirk Cousins threw for 500 yards. And Kirk Cousins, his narrative or the title that everybody placed on him was he couldn't win in primetime. Well, he got the job done then. So he knows the system, knows the personnel, obviously gets along with the coaching staff. He and KOC were really tight. The only thing that they really differed on is if they wanted Kirk Cousins back at the price that he got for the Atlanta Falcons to be our starting quarterback. And I think Kirk Cousins is being painted into a corner. He may have to be a backup. The only really good landing spot for him is the Cleveland Browns right now. And I just believe that the Cleveland Browns are going to get their quarterback situation together, UP Nation. So now what does Kirk Cousins do? He's a backup everywhere. I don't think there's another place where he can go and possibly have a quarterback competition. I believe he regrets leaving Minnesota. His family loved it there in Minnesota, and his wife loved it there in Minnesota, although they have family in Atlanta. Things just haven't worked out for Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. And so when he left and the Vikings moved to JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold, I was ecstatic. I was ecstatic about the move, UP Nation, like a lot of Minnesota Vikings were. We finally got rid of Kirk Cousins and the mediocre play. We finally got rid of that big contract. And so I never thought I would entertain the idea or the philosophy that Kirk Cousins may come back as a backup. And what would that look like? Honestly, out of the three, I think I would lean towards Kirk Cousins. I know a lot of people that know me will be surprised that I'm saying that, but I'm just talking about in terms of the backup. And if JJ McCarthy were to go down and not able to play, man, who do you want? Kirk Cousins, out of the other guys, he's younger than a Joe Flacco. He has way more reps than a Ryan Tannehill. I mean, guys, do you see what I'm saying, UP Nation? That's not a bad choice for backup for the Minnesota Vikings. If he comes in and wants to be a backup. Let me know your thoughts. Do you want Kirk Cousins back as a backup to JJ McCarthy? It's not a bad move, UP Nation. But I would love to hear your thoughts, man. Put it in the comments. Let me know. What are your thoughts? Do you want Kirk Cousins as a backup? I think he's a better option than Joe Flacco, Ryan Tannehill, Trey Lance, some of the other names, Marcus Mariota, some of the other names that are out there. Now, keep in mind that Kirk Cousins, his contract with the Atlanta Falcons is guaranteed. So you can sign a Kirk Cousins for bare minimum. He's not going to hurt you in terms of salary cap dollars. But we all know that Kirk Cousins likes the money. So he could come in and demand a little bit more than probably what he should, because I just don't think he's going to have a whole lot of options. Kirk Cousins back as a Minnesota Vikings backup. Man, that's just weird. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Those that become members, and please consider becoming a member, will be entered into a drawing to win a Minnesota Vikings Winter Warrior jersey. Please take the time to hit that like button. I would surely appreciate it. Keeps the station and the algorithms going. Keeps me pumping out really, really good content for UP Nation. We will make sure to see you, UP Nation, when we see you.